The hillside mansion sat in silence so complete you could hear the hum of the refrigerator 3 rooms away. Linda Brown, 36 years old, $70 million in the bank, paralyzed from the waist down for exactly 23 months and 14 days, had perfected the art of making people disappear. 23 assistants in 6 months. The longest anyone had lasted was 12 days. A nervous woman from Minnesota who'd finally cracked when Linda threw a water glass at the wall beside her head. Not at her. Beside. Linda wasn't violent. She was precise. The agency had stopped calling with candidates 2 weeks ago. Then yesterday, a message. One more. A man this time. Single father, desperate for work. The coordinator's voice had carried that particular blend of apology and hope that meant this was the bottom of the barrel. Robert Williams stood in the driveway at 7:58 on a Tuesday morning, looking up at all that glass and steel and money. His jacket had a tear at the left shoulder, carefully stitched closed with thread that didn't quite match. His car, a 2009 Honda with 200,000 miles and a check engine light he'd learned to ignore, coughed twice before the engine died. He'd left Emily at the before-school program, watched her walk through those doors with her backpack dragging on the ground because she'd insisted on carrying all her library books at once, and driven here thinking about the eviction notice folded in his glove compartment. 30 days. That's what the landlord had given him. 30 days to come up with an extra $600 a month or find somewhere else to go. The front door opened before he could knock. A housekeeper who looked like she'd aged a decade in the past year gestured him inside without a word. The entry hall stretched out in marble and emptiness, everything white and chrome and deliberately cold. No photos on the walls, no personal items cluttering the console table. Just expensive nothing. Linda sat in her motorized wheelchair by the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Los Angeles, backlit by morning sun that turned her into a silhouette. When she spun the chair around, Robert got his first good look at her. Dark hair pulled back tight enough to hurt. Sharp cheekbones that probably looked elegant in photographs but right now just looked hard. Eyes that had learned to cut before anyone could get close enough to hurt her first. She looked him up and down, taking in the worn jacket, the discount store shirt, the shoes he'd resold himself because new ones weren't in the budget. Her expression didn't change. "The agency sent you?" "Yes, ma'am." "You know I'm difficult." "They mentioned it." "Difficult is polite. I'm a nightmare. I throw things. I make impossible demands. People quit crying." She said it like a dare, waiting for him to prove her right by walking out. Robert had been shot at in Atlanta during a home invasion 3 years ago while working security at a medical facility. He'd talked down a dementia patient who'd come at him with a kitchen knife. He'd held his wife's hand while cancer ate her from the inside out, watched her waste away to nothing, and kept getting up every morning to make breakfast for a 3-year-old who kept asking when mommy was coming home. A rich woman in a wheelchair testing him with attitude barely registered. "The medication bottles are in the bathroom. I need my blood pressure pills and the pain medication." Robert found the bathroom, which was bigger than his and Emily's bedroom combined. The counter held at least 40 prescription bottles, organized by absolutely no system he could identify. He read labels until he found the right ones, brought them back. Linda stared at his outstretched right hand. Wrong hand. Robert switched the bottles to his left hand. Linda knocked them out of his grip. They clattered across the marble floor, one of them rolling under a side table. "Too late. You already messed up. Pick them up." Robert bent down, collected the bottles without comment, set them on the table beside her wheelchair. Linda's jaw tightened. "You're supposed to be angry now, supposed to tell me I'm being unreasonable and walk out." "I have a 7-year-old who needs food." Robert kept his voice level. "Pills on the floor don't make me angry." Something flickered across Linda's face. Surprise, maybe. She covered it quickly. "You have a daughter." "Emily. She's 7. "Where is she now?" "Before school program until 8:30, then class, after school program until 5. Then I pick her up." "So you'll be leaving early?" "Agency said 8 to 6 with flexibility. I'll be here 8 to 5, pick up Emily, can return for evening duties if needed." "I don't like children." "Good thing she won't be here then." They stared at each other. Robert had learned in the army that the first person to look away lost, and he'd learned as a father that sometimes you had to out-stubborn a tantrum. Linda broke first, looking toward the windows. Physical therapy starts in 20 minutes. Equipment is in the gym downstairs. I hate every second of it, and I'll make you hate it too. I can handle it. We'll see. The gym was all specialized equipment and mirrors and the faint smell of disinfectant. A printed schedule sat on the counter, detailed exercises in a physical therapist's careful handwriting. Robert had done this before, in various forms. Home health care meant learning to read between the lines of medical instructions, figuring out what actually helped versus what just looked good on paper. Linda transferred from her wheelchair to the exercise mat with practiced efficiency, not waiting for help. Robert spotted anyway, hands ready but not touching. She noticed but didn't comment. Leg raises first, 10 reps. She managed 3 before her face twisted with effort and frustration. The therapist says 10. The therapist isn't paralyzed. Linda's hands gripped the mat hard enough to turn her knuckles white. My legs don't work. You can't raise what won't move. Then we'll do 3 today, 4 tomorrow. Don't patronize me. I'm not. I'm adjusting the plan to reality. Robert checked the schedule again. Next is core engagement, that you can do. Linda worked through the exercises with a stream of complaints, criticism, and outright hostility that would have sent most people running. Robert had heard worse from his wife during the bad months, when the pain medication barely touched the edges and she'd lashed out at anything close enough to hurt. He knew the difference between anger at him and anger at the situation that needed somewhere to go. Halfway through, Linda grabbed the resistance band and threw it across the room. This is pointless. 2 years of this and I still can't stand up. What's the point? Robert retrieved the band. Point is, you're still trying. No, the point is everyone keeps telling me I should try, that if I work hard enough, want it badly enough, I'll magically walk again. Except I won't. This is as good as it gets and everyone's just too polite to say it. You don't know that. Yes, I do. I've had the best doctors money can buy. They all say the same thing. Might regain some function. Might. That's not a promise. That's a participation trophy for showing up. Robert sat down on the floor next to the mat, close enough to talk without looming over her. Linda's eyes narrowed with suspicion. My wife couldn't walk the last 3 months. The words came out rougher than he'd planned. Cancer ate through her spine. I carried her everywhere, bathroom, kitchen, to the window so she could look outside. She hated it, hated needing me for everything, hated that her body quit on her. Linda's expression shifted slightly, the armor cracking just enough to show something human underneath. What happened to her? She died 4 years ago. Left me with Emily, who was 3 and kept asking when Mommy was coming home. Robert picked at a loose thread on his jacket cuff. I broke down for 3 days straight. Didn't eat, didn't shower, barely moved. Emily stayed with neighbors. Child services almost got involved. What changed? Day 4, Emily climbed into bed with me. 3 years old, looked at me and said, "Daddy's sad, but Emily loves you anyway." Just like that. Simple acceptance that I was broken, but she loved me. He looked up at Linda. It gave me enough to get up. Get help. Start putting pieces together. Linda was quiet for a long moment, really looking at him now instead of through him. You're not just some home health aide the agency scraped up. I've done this before, different contexts, same core work, helping people who don't want help. Robert stood, offered the resistance band again. 3 more exercises and we're done for today. Linda took the band, worked through the exercises without complaining. When they finished, Robert helped her transfer back to the wheelchair. She was lighter than he'd expected, all muscle and bone and barely contained frustration. You'll quit by Friday. Linda settled into her chair, adjusted her position. They always do. I already told you I don't quit easy. Everyone says that. I'm not everyone. Robert spent the rest of the morning learning routines. medication schedule, meal preferences, which rooms Linda used, and which sat empty and untouched. The house felt like a museum of someone else's life. Photos were turned face down on shelves. Climbing gear sat in a closet, gathering dust. The bedroom had been converted to accessible height, but the closet still held clothes that would never fit over a wheelchair. Lunch was a silent affair. Linda picked at grilled chicken and vegetables while staring out the window at a view worth millions that she barely seemed to see. Robert cleaned the kitchen, checked his phone. A text from Emily's school about picture day next week. Cost, $22 for the basic package. He'd have to skip it again this year. Last year's photo would have to be good enough. The afternoon physical therapy session went smoother. Linda tested him less, complained more honestly instead of looking for reaction. Progress in its own way. At 4:30, Robert started gathering his things. "You're leaving early. I told you, Emily gets out at 5. Most people would lie, say they had another appointment, make it sound more important than picking up a kid. She is the most important thing." Robert pulled on his jacket. "I'll be back by 7 if you need evening coverage." "Don't bother, I can manage." Robert paused at the door. "Tomorrow, same time?" Linda's fingers drummed on the wheelchair armrest. "You actually lasted the day. That's better than 4 of them managed. Fine, tomorrow, but you'll quit by the end of the week." "We'll see." He made it to Emily's school at 4:58, parked in the pickup zone with the engine still running because sometimes it didn't start again if he turned it off. Emily burst out of the building with her backpack bouncing, gap-toothed smile bright enough to hurt. "Daddy, I got an A on my spelling test." "That's my girl." Robert scooped her into a hug, breathing in the smell of school cafeteria and strawberry shampoo. "You hungry?" "Always." They stopped at the dollar store for pasta and sauce, Emily helping count out exact change because they were 11 cents short and Robert needed to check the cup holder for loose coins. The apartment was on the 3rd floor, no elevator, and Robert's knees protested every step. The eviction notice was still in the car. He'd tell Emily later. Maybe, if he couldn't figure something out first. Dinner was spaghetti with butter because the sauce had been 50 cents more than Robert remembered. Emily chattered about her day, about her friend Madison whose mom had brought cupcakes for her birthday, about the book they were reading in class about a girl who could talk to animals. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" Robert looked up from his barely touched plate. "Just tired, baby." "Is it the new job? Is the lady mean?" "She's going through something hard." Robert reached over to wipe sauce from Emily's chin. "People are mean sometimes when they hurt." "Like you were mean after Mommy died?" The question knocked the air out of his lungs. He'd thought she was too young to remember those months, the version of him that had existed in the space between Claire dying and figuring out how to be a single father. Apparently not. "Yeah, like that. But you got better." Emily twisted pasta on her fork with the intense concentration of a 7-year-old. "So maybe she'll get better too." Maybe. After dinner, after Emily's bath and bedtime story, and the ritual of checking under the bed for monsters and in the closet for ghosts, Robert sat in the dark living room with the eviction notice unfolded on the coffee table. 30 days. The new job paid triple his current rate, but he'd only been there 1 day. No guarantee Linda wouldn't fire him tomorrow. No guarantee he'd last the week she was betting on. His phone buzzed. Pastor Kenneth Lee, the man who'd pulled Robert out of his grief spiral 4 years ago, who'd helped him find his first caregiving job, who checked in every few weeks like clockwork. "How'd the first day go?" Robert typed back. "Still employed? Miracle in itself. She tough? She's scared. Hides it with mean, like someone else I know." That was different. Was it? Robert stared at the text, at the question that cut too close. He'd been scared after Claire died, terrified of failing Emily, of not being enough, of loving someone and losing them again. He'd hidden it under anger and withdrawal and the kind of grim determination that kept you moving but not really living. Maybe not. Give her time. Give yourself time. Not everything has to be survival mode. Rent's going up $600. It's survival mode until it's not. Bring Emily to church Sunday. We'll figure something out. Robert set the phone down without responding. He'd learned the hard way that charity, even well-meaning, came with strings. Expectations. Questions about why a grown man couldn't support his daughter better. He'd been taking care of himself and Emily for 4 years without handouts, and he wasn't about to start now. Day 2. Linda was waiting in the gym when Robert arrived at 7:55. "You're early." Daughter woke up early, dropped her off early. Robert set down his bag. "You ready?" "I've been up since 5, couldn't sleep." They worked through exercises in silence, broken only by Linda's breathing and the occasional instruction from Robert. She pushed harder today, held positions longer, but her face showed the cost. Near the end, her left leg spasmed and she gasped, hand flying to her thigh. Robert moved without thinking, applying pressure to the muscle, working the cramp with the kind of practiced efficiency that came from years of medical work. Linda's breathing slowed, the spasm released. "Where'd you learn that?" "Army medic training, before Emily." Robert stepped back, giving her space. "Stayed certified even after I got out. Never know when it'll be useful." "You were Army." 2 tours, nothing glamorous, mostly patching up kids who stepped wrong. He didn't mention the nightmares, the ones that had gotten worse after Claire died when his brain decided to combine trauma flavors into something special. Linda studied him with new calculation. Agency didn't mention military background. Didn't ask. What else didn't they mention? That I need this job. Robert met her eyes. That I'm 3 weeks from homeless if I can't make rent. That I'm good at this work but terrible at interviews so nobody else will hire me. That I'll put up with whatever you throw at me because my daughter deserves better than shelter hotels. The honesty hung between them. Linda's expression shifted through several emotions too quick to name before settling on something that might have been respect. "At least you're honest about it. Lying takes energy I don't have." They finished the session without incident. Over lunch, Linda asked about Emily. Careful questions that tried to sound casual but held genuine curiosity underneath. Robert answered, watching Linda's face soften slightly when he mentioned Emily's gap-toothed smile and her habit of naming every stuffed animal after historical figures. "She sounds exhausting." "She is. Best thing that ever happened to me, though." Wednesday brought the first real test. Robert arrived to find Linda had fired the housekeeper overnight. The kitchen was a disaster of broken glass and spilled coffee, evidence of Linda trying to make breakfast herself from the wheelchair. "Don't." Linda's voice was sharp as the glass scattered across the tile. "Don't say anything." Robert found the broom, started sweeping without comment. "I said don't. I'm not saying anything. I'm cleaning glass so you don't roll over it and pop your wheelchair tire. I can clean my own mess." "Can you?" Robert kept sweeping, careful to get the smallest shards. "Or would you rather sit there bleeding pride while glass shreds your wheels?" Linda's hands gripped the armrests. For a second, Robert thought she might wheel right through the glass out of pure spite. Instead, she laughed, sharp and bitter, but genuine. "You're either very brave or very stupid." Option 3, very broke. Robert dumped the glass in the trash, ran a damp paper towel over the floor to catch anything he'd missed. "Why'd you fire the housekeeper?" "She pitied me. I could see it every time she looked at me. Poor Linda, used to climb mountains, now can't even make coffee." "So you'd rather make your own disasters than accept help from someone who pities you?" "Wouldn't you?" Robert thought about the times he'd turned down offers of help after Claire died. Casseroles from church ladies that came with sad eyes and assumptions about his parenting. Offers of childcare that felt like judgment about his ability to handle Emily alone. Money from Claire's parents that came with strings attached to their opinions about mixed-race families. "Yeah, I would." Something in Linda's posture relaxed. "Make breakfast. And don't tell me how capable I am or how much progress I'm making. Wasn't planning to." Thursday, Emily's school called at 2:30. She'd thrown up in class, needed to be picked up. Robert found Linda in the middle of an exercise session, explained the situation. "Go, we can finish tomorrow." "I can come back after." "I said go, I'm not a monster." Linda's voice was firm. "Your daughter is sick. Nothing here is more important than that." Robert made it to the school in 15 minutes, found Emily pale and miserable in the nurse's office. She perked up slightly when she saw him. "Sorry, Daddy." "Nothing to be sorry for, baby." Robert signed her out, carried her to the car despite her protest that she could walk. "Let's get you home." She fell asleep against his shoulder on the couch, fever warm against his neck. Robert held her, thinking about the job he'd just left early, the money he'd lose for a half day, the balance between being a father and being employed. His phone buzzed. "Linda. Is she okay?" "Robert. Stomach bug. She'll be fine." "Linda. Take tomorrow off. Paid. She'll need you." Robert stared at the message. In 4 years of caregiving work, no one had ever offered paid sick time for his kid. He typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on, "Thank you. Linda. Don't make it a habit." Friday. Emily was better but needed someone home. Robert called the agency to report he'd be out, expecting pushback. Instead, the coordinator sounded shocked. "Miss Brown already called. Said you're taking a personal day, fully paid. She's never done that before." Robert spent the day with Emily, making soup and watching cartoons, and trying not to think about how one act of unexpected kindness had cracked something open in his chest he'd thought was sealed shut. Monday morning, week 2, Robert arrived to find Linda outside her wheelchair. On the floor, one hand still gripping the bathroom counter, face tight with pain and humiliation. "Don't!" She bit out the word before he could speak. "Don't help. Don't call anyone. Just go away." Robert knelt beside her instead. "Where does it hurt?" "My pride, mostly." Linda's laugh was wet. "Hip. I was trying to. It doesn't matter. Just leave me here to die of embarrassment." "Can you bend your left knee?" Linda tried, managed it slightly. "Right side?" "No." Her voice cracked. "Something's wrong with the transfer. I couldn't get the angle right and I just fell." "Okay, here's what we're going to do." Robert positioned himself carefully. "I'm going to support your weight. You're going to help as much as you can. On 3. They managed it on the second try. Linda back in her wheelchair, face flushed with effort and shame. Robert checked her hip, gentle but thorough. No broken bones, just bruising. "When did you last fall?" 6 months ago. I got better at transfers." Linda wouldn't meet his eyes. "Thought I had it figured out." "Bodies change. What worked 6 months ago might not work now." Robert stood, gave her space. "No shame in asking for help with transfers. There's nothing but shame in it." Linda's hands were shaking. "I used to free solo climb 500-foot faces. Now I can't get from wheelchair to toilet without falling." Robert thought about Claire, about the day she'd asked him to help her to the bathroom and cried the whole way because her body had betrayed her so completely. About his own pride that had kept him from asking for help even when he was drowning. "My wife fell once, near the end." The memory was sharp enough to cut. "Called for me, but I was in the garage, couldn't hear. She lay there 20 minutes before I found her. 20 minutes of knowing she needed help and couldn't get it. You know what she said when I finally came?" Linda looked up. She said, "I'm sorry for being a burden." She was dying and she apologized for needing me. Robert's throat was tight. "I told her she could never be a burden, that needing help didn't make her less, that I'd carry her the rest of her life if that's what it took." He paused. "I meant it then. I mean it now. Different person, same truth. Needing help isn't weakness. It's just being human." Linda was crying, silent tears that tracked down her face while she stared at her useless legs. "I hate this. I hate all of it. I know. I used to be capable, strong. Now I'm this broken thing that can't even transfer right." "You're not broken." Robert kept his voice level. You're adapting to circumstances you never chose. That's different. Feels the same. They sat in silence for a while. Robert didn't try to fix it with platitudes or false hope. Sometimes people just needed to sit in the grief of what they'd lost before they could move forward. Finally, Linda wiped her face. "I have a photo. In my bedroom top drawer. Will you get it?" Robert found it. Linda on a mountain summit, arms raised in victory, alive with joy so bright it hurt to look at. The photo was dated 3 years ago. That was me, that person who could do anything. Linda took the photo, traced her younger self's face. She's dead now, and I'm stuck with whatever this is. Or maybe she evolved. Robert sat down across from her. That person climbed mountains alone. This person is learning to let someone help. That takes different kind of courage. You make it sound noble. It's not. It's just necessity. Courage usually is. The conversation hung between them, heavy with truth neither of them wanted to examine too closely. Tuesday brought Emily to work. School professional development day, no after-school program, and Robert's backup babysitter had the flu. He showed up with his daughter in tow, prepared to be fired. Linda looked at Emily with obvious discomfort. "I told you I don't like children." Emily, unimpressed by rich women in wheelchairs, pulled out her coloring book. "That's okay. I like you anyway." Linda's eyebrows went up. Robert bit back a smile. The morning was surprisingly smooth. Emily colored quietly while Robert and Linda worked through exercises. At one point, Linda's face twisted with pain during a core engagement hold. "Are you okay?" Emily looked up from her drawing. "Fine." Linda's voice was tight. "You look like Daddy when his back hurts. He says it's okay to take breaks." "Your daddy is very wise." Linda released the hold, breathing hard. "What are you drawing?" Emily brought the paper over. A woman in a wheelchair with a large, friendly-looking dragon beside her. "That's you." Emily pointed to the wheelchair figure. "And that's Spark. She's your dragon." Linda stared at the drawing. "Why does she have a dragon?" "Because knights need dragons to help them on adventures. See?" Emily pointed to details Robert couldn't make out. "You can't walk, but Spark carries you to amazing places, like how Daddy carries me when I'm tired." "Daddy says everyone needs help sometimes. That's why we have friends and family and dragons." Emily's gap-toothed smile was bright. "Asking for help isn't weak, it's smart." Linda looked at Robert. He shrugged, caught between pride in his daughter and awareness that a 7-year-old had just demolished Linda's defenses better than he ever could. "Can I keep this?" Linda's voice was careful. "Really? You want my drawing?" "I don't have much art on these walls. This would look good." Emily beamed. "I can make you more. Do you want a unicorn next? Or maybe a phoenix? Surprise me." After Emily went back to coloring, Linda caught Robert's eye. Mouthed, "Thank you." He nodded. Lunch was the three of them in the kitchen. Emily chattered about school, about her friend Madison, about the book she was reading. Linda listened, asked questions, slowly relaxed. By the end of the meal, she was almost smiling. "She's remarkable." Linda said it quietly while Emily was in the bathroom. "She is. Gets it from her mother, I assume. Some from both of us. Mostly she's just herself." Robert gathered plates. Claire would have loved her at this age. All opinions and observations and zero filter. "You talk about your wife present tense sometimes." "She's still Emily's mother. Death doesn't change that." Robert ran water, started washing dishes. "I loved her, lost her, learned to keep living, all true at once." "How long before it stopped hurting?" "I'll let you know when it does." Linda was quiet. Then, "My ex-boyfriend left a year after the accident, said he'd signed up for adventures, not for being a caregiver, made it very clear I wasn't what he wanted anymore. Then he was a coward. Or realistic. Who wants to tie themselves to someone who can't even walk? Someone who sees past the wheelchair to the person." Robert dried his hands, turned to face her. "Your ex left because he was weak. That's on him, not you." "Easy to say. Doesn't make it less true." Week 3 started with Linda attempting to stand using parallel bars. Robert found her in the gym at 6 in the morning, an hour before he was scheduled to arrive. "How long have you been here?" "Hour, maybe more." Linda's hands gripped the bars, knuckles white. "I wanted to try before you got here. Thought maybe without an audience. Did it work?" "I got 3 seconds before my legs gave out. 3 whole seconds of standing." Her voice was bitter. 2 years of therapy for 3 seconds. Robert checked the therapy notes. "Says here you refused to try standing for the last 6 months. 3 seconds is 3 more than 0. It's nothing. It's a start." Robert positioned himself to spot her. "Want to try again?" "What's the point?" 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10. It's not walking. It's not freedom. It's just different kind of being stuck. Or it's progress. Robert kept his voice level. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. Linda pushed up. Her legs shook violently, but they held. Robert counted in his head. 5 seconds, 6, 7, 8. Linda sat back hard, breathing like she'd run a marathon. 8 seconds. Robert made a note in the therapy log. "Almost triple your first attempt." "It's not enough." "It's enough for today. Tomorrow we try for 9. Linda looked up at him, something shifting in her expression. Hope, maybe, or the beginning of it. "You really think I can do this?" "I think you already are." They tried 3 more times. Linda managed 6 seconds, then 7, then collapsed back into her wheelchair with tears streaming down her face. "I did it." Her voice shook. "I actually stood." "You did." "Why are you still here?" Linda wiped at her face roughly. "You've been here almost 3 weeks. Nobody lasts 3 weeks. Why haven't you quit?" Robert thought about the eviction notice, about the rent money he'd scraped together for another month, about Emily's worn shoes and the picture day he'd had to skip, about the way Linda had offered paid time off when Emily was sick, about the drawing of a knight and a dragon that now hung in Linda's bedroom. Because you need help, and because somewhere in there, under all the armor and anger, is someone worth helping. Linda's eyes went wide. "I'm not. I don't deserve." Everyone deserves someone who stays, even when it's hard, especially then. The silence stretched between them, heavy with words neither was ready to say. Finally, Linda spoke. "Rowan." "Yeah?" "Tomorrow. Can you bring Emily? I liked having her energy around." Robert smiled. "She'd love that." "And Rowan?" "Yeah?" "Thank you. For not quitting. For not treating me like I'm fragile or broken or doomed. For just, staying. That's what I'm here for." That evening, driving Emily home, Robert's phone buzzed. Linda had never texted him outside work hours before. "You lasted 3 weeks. New record. Don't let it go to your head." Robert smiled, typed back. "Wouldn't dream of it. Emily can come anytime. She's good for this house. Makes it less like a tomb. I'll tell her. She'll be thrilled." A pause. Then, "I stood today. 8 seconds. First time in 2 years I've done that. You did. And tomorrow you'll do 9. How do you know? Because you want it. And wanting something enough to fight for it is half the battle." Another pause. Longer this time. "Thank you for fighting for me when I couldn't fight for myself." Robert stared at the message, throat tight. Thought about Claire asking him not to give up, to keep living after she was gone. About Emily needing him to be present, not just surviving. About Linda slowly, painfully, learning to hope again, anytime. Emily looked up from her book. "Is Miss Linda okay?" "Yeah, baby, she's okay." "Good, I like her. She's sad like you were sad, but she's getting better." Out of the mouths of children came truth that adults spent years learning to see. "Yeah, she is." Robert pulled into their apartment complex, looked up at the 3rd-floor unit that might not be theirs much longer, and felt something he hadn't felt in 4 years. Not just survival, not just getting through the day, but actual hope that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Week 3, and he was still employed, still showing up, still helping someone learn to stand again, 8 seconds at a time. It was a start. Week 4 began with an email that arrived at 2 in the morning. Robert saw it when Emily woke up with a nightmare about her mother, and he'd been checking his phone while she fell back asleep against his chest. The sender was Stephen Taylor. The subject line read, "You're invited." Robert deleted it without opening. Not his business. But at 7:50, when he arrived at the mansion, Linda was sitting in her wheelchair staring at her iPad with an expression that could have frozen the Pacific. "Everything okay?" Linda didn't look up. Her finger moved across the screen, scrolling through something Robert couldn't see from where he stood. "My ex is getting married. He sent me a digital invitation like we're still friends, like he didn't walk out when I needed him most." Her voice was flat, drained of the anger that usually gave it edges. Stephen Taylor, marrying some travel blogger named Amanda Chen. They met climbing Kilimanjaro 6 months ago. Robert set down his bag, gave her space to continue or not. "He left me a year after the accident, waited just long enough to not look completely heartless, then told me he'd signed up for adventures and excitement, not for being a caregiver." Linda's thumb stopped scrolling. Direct quote, "I wasn't enough anymore because I couldn't climb mountains with him." He was wrong. Was he? Linda finally looked up and her eyes were dry but devastated. "Look at me. I can't travel easily. Can't do any of the things that made me who I was. What do I have to offer anyone?" Robert thought about Claire, about the months when cancer had stolen her ability to do anything but lie in bed and try to keep food down. About loving her anyway, maybe more, because the core of who she was had nothing to do with what her body could do. "You're asking the wrong question." Linda's jaw tightened. "What's the right one then?" "Not what you can offer. Who you are beyond what your body does." Robert pulled up a chair, sat so they were eye level. "Your worth isn't climbing mountains. It never was. Easy for you to say. Actually, it's not." Robert leaned forward, elbows on knees. "When Claire died, I asked myself what I had to offer as a father. Couldn't give Emily her mother back. Couldn't take away her grief. Couldn't even cook dinner without burning it. What good was I?" "That's different." "How?" "You're still whole. You can do things." Robert's hands tightened into fists before he forced them open. "I had a breakdown after Claire died. Complete mental collapse. Didn't get out of bed for 3 days. Emily stayed with neighbors while I fell apart. Child services came to the door, asked if I was fit to parent. I almost lost her because I couldn't function." Linda's expression shifted. Day 4, Emily came into my room. 3 years old, climbed into bed, put her little hand on my face and said, "Daddy's sad, but Emily loves you anyway." Just that. Simple acceptance that I was broken but still loved. Robert's throat was tight. That gave me enough strength to get up, get help, start rebuilding. "You had a reason, your daughter. And you have reasons too. They just look different." Robert held her gaze. "Every day you do therapy, you're choosing to try. Every time you let me help instead of pushing me away, you're choosing connection. Those are brave choices." "They don't feel brave. They never do. Courage doesn't feel like courage when you're in the middle of it. It just feels like surviving one more day." Linda set the iPad down, face up. The wedding invitation glowed on the screen, all elegant fonts and mountain imagery. Stephen and Amanda, a perfect adventure couple doing what Linda used to do. I was so angry when he left, still am. But part of me understood. Who wants to tie themselves to someone who can't be a full partner? Being a partner isn't about physical ability. Robert's voice came out harder than intended. It's showing up emotionally, supporting each other, building a life together. You can do all of that. Can I? I can barely take care of myself. You're learning to. That's what this work is about. Robert gestured toward the gym. And for what it's worth, Stephen leaving says more about him than you. Real love doesn't quit when things get hard. Linda studied him for a long moment. You sound certain. I am. Claire and I had 7 years together. Good years, hard years, everything between. When she got sick, she made me promise something. What? Not to let grief make me bitter, to stay open to connection, to love again if the chance came. Robert's voice cracked slightly. She said life was too short to close yourself off because of pain. Have you? Loved again? No. Haven't met anyone who fits into our life. Emily comes first, always. Most people don't want the complexity of dating a single father. Robert managed to smile. But I'm not closed to the possibility. Doesn't that make you angry, that your circumstances limit your options? Sometimes. But I try to see it differently. My circumstances don't limit my options. They clarify them. Anyone who can't accept Emily and me as a package isn't someone I want anyway. Linda was quiet, processing. Finally, she picked up the iPad and deleted the invitation without responding. That felt good. Sometimes petty is appropriate. They worked through morning therapy with unusual focus. Linda pushed herself harder, held positions longer, barely complained. Near the end, she looked at Robert with an expression he couldn't quite read. Will you bring Emily today? I could use her energy. She'd love that. Fair warning though, she'll talk your ear off. I'm counting on it. This house is too quiet. Has been for too long. Emily arrived at noon with her backpack full of art supplies and a book about dragons she'd checked out from the library specifically to show Linda. She launched into an explanation of dragon taxonomy that somehow involved both medieval history and modern physics, and Linda listened with what looked like genuine interest. So you see, European dragons breathe fire because of methane production in their digestive system, but Chinese dragons control weather through electromagnetic manipulation of atmospheric conditions. Emily was completely serious, citing her sources with the confidence of a college professor. That makes perfect sense. Linda's lips twitched with suppressed amusement. I knew you'd understand. Daddy just says that's interesting, baby. But I can tell he's not really listening. Robert, cutting vegetables for lunch, protested, I'm always listening. You're listening to the words. Miss Linda listens to the meaning. Emily turned back to Linda. Can I show you something? She pulled out a drawing, more detailed than the first dragon. This one showed a knight in a wheelchair leading an army of various dragons into battle against a castle. That's you. Emily pointed to the wheelchair knight. You're not waiting to be rescued. You're doing the rescuing, and all the dragons help because that's what family does. Linda took the drawing with hands that shook slightly. Emily, this is beautiful. You can have it. I made it for you. Emily's gap-toothed smile was bright. Daddy says when someone's sad, you give them art to remind them they're not alone. Your daddy is very wise. I know. Emily settled on the floor with her coloring book. That's why I listen to him even when he makes me eat vegetables. Lunch was the three of them around the kitchen island, something that was becoming routine. Emily chattered about school, about her friend Madison whose parents were getting divorced, about the science project she wanted to do on plant growth but needed supplies they couldn't afford. What kind of supplies? Linda's tone was casual, but Robert knew where this was going. Seeds, soil, grow lights, measurement tools. Mr. Peterson said we could buy a kit for $30 or build our own for less, but I don't know how. Emily's voice held the careful neutrality of a child who'd learned not to ask for things that cost money. I used to garden, before. Linda gestured vaguely at her legs. Had a whole setup on the back terrace. Still there, actually. Just hasn't been used in 2 years. Emily's eyes went wide. Really? Can we use it? If your father says it's okay. Linda looked at Robert. I'd like to. Give the space a purpose again. Robert wanted to say no. Wanted to keep the boundaries clear between employer and employee, between Linda's charity and his pride. But Emily's face was so hopeful, and Linda's expression held something fragile that looked like it might be healing. Okay, but Emily does the work. No handouts. Agreed. Linda turned to Emily. After lunch, we'll inventory what's out there. Make a plan. The terrace garden was overgrown with weeds and neglect, but the bones were good. Raised beds at wheelchair height, a potting bench, tools in a shed that just needed cleaning. Emily explored with the enthusiasm of a conquistador discovering new territory. Miss Linda, there's so many beds. We could grow everything. We could, or we could start with one bed and see how it goes. Linda wheeled closer to inspect the soil. This is going to need work, probably new soil entirely. I can help. Emily was already pulling weeds with the determination of someone on a mission. Daddy says hard work makes you appreciate the results more. Your daddy says a lot of smart things. They spent 2 hours in the garden. Emily pulled weeds. Linda directed operations from her wheelchair. Robert hauled bags of old soil to the compost and brought in fresh dirt from the garage. By the end, one bed was cleared and ready for planting. Tomorrow we'll plant seeds. Linda was flushed with effort and something that looked almost like happiness. Emily, you'll need to come back to water and measure growth. Can I? Daddy, can I come help Miss Linda with the garden? Robert looked between his daughter and Linda, saw the connection forming there, the way Linda's face softened when she looked at Emily, the way Emily treated Linda like a regular person instead of someone to pity or avoid. If Miss Linda doesn't mind. I don't mind. Linda's voice was firm. I like having you both here. Makes the house feel less like a museum. That evening, after dropping Emily at home with a neighbor for an hour, Robert returned to help Linda with evening therapy. She was already in the gym, attempting to stand at the parallel bars alone. How long? Robert kept his voice level. 20 minutes. Got to 30 seconds twice. Linda's face was red with effort and frustration. My personal best was 8 seconds last week. I've tripled that. That's incredible. It's not enough. 30 seconds isn't walking, isn't freedom. It's just a different kind of stuck. Robert positioned himself to spot. On 3. Linda gripped the bars, pushed up. Her legs shook violently but held. Robert counted silently. 20 seconds. 25. 30. 35. Linda's right leg gave out at 40 seconds. She sat back hard, breathing like she'd climbed a mountain. 40 seconds. Robert made a note. New record. It's still not enough. It's enough for today. Robert checked the therapy log, saw the progression. 3 seconds to 8 to 30 to 40. The curve was steep, the kind of improvement that happened when someone finally committed instead of just going through motions. You're doing the work, real work, not just showing up. Linda wiped sweat from her face. I want to try the walker next week. You sure? Dr. Patricia said. I know what she said. 6 months of successful standing before attempting walking aids. I don't have 6 months. Linda's voice carried an edge of desperation. I need to know if this is possible, if there's a chance I can actually walk again, not just stand in place like some kind of broken toy. Rushing it could set you back, and waiting could mean I lose nerve entirely. Linda gripped the wheelchair armrests. I've spent 2 years being careful, being safe, following all the rules, and I'm still sitting here unable to walk. Maybe it's time to take a risk. Robert thought about risk, about the line between pushing boundaries and breaking yourself against them, about Claire refusing experimental treatment because the side effects would have stolen her last good months, choosing quality over quantity, about his own choice to take this job despite knowing Linda's reputation, risking his last chance at stable income because desperation didn't leave room for safe bets. Okay, but we do it smart. I spot you. We start with 5 seconds of weight on the walker, build up slow. Deal. They shook hands, and Linda's grip was stronger than Robert expected. Week 5, the landlord called. Robert took it outside during Linda's rest period, stood in the garden Emily had started reclaiming. The voice on the other end was apologetic but firm. I've got someone willing to pay the new rate. If you can't match it by the end of the month, I'll need you out. Robert did math in his head. Linda's salary was good, triple his old rate, but he'd only been here a month. After taxes and Emily's expenses and the debt from Claire's medical bills that kept bleeding him dry, he was still $200 short. I need more time. I can give you until the 15th. After that, I'm listing the unit. The 15th was 10 days away. Robert hung up, stood in the garden surrounded by the beginnings of Emily's science project, and felt the walls closing in. He'd been here before. After Claire died, after the hospital bills came due, after every job that hadn't quite paid enough to cover both rent and food, and keeping Emily in shoes that fit. Always scrambling, always one crisis away from disaster. His phone buzzed. "Linda, everything okay? You've been outside 20 minutes. Robert considered lying, considered keeping the wall between professional and personal intact. But Linda had offered paid time off when Emily was sick, had let them use her garden, had looked at his daughter like she mattered. Landlord. Need to match the new rent by the 15th or move out. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. How short are you? Robert's pride warred with necessity. Pride lost. 200. I'll figure it out. Come back inside. We need to talk. Linda was in the living room when Robert returned, an envelope on the coffee table between them. No. Robert saw where this was going. I'm not taking charity. It's not charity. It's an advance on next month's salary. Linda pushed the envelope toward him. Consider it a loan if that helps your pride. Pay me back when you can. I can't. Yes, you can. Unless you'd rather Emily live in your car while you prove you can handle everything alone. Linda's voice was sharp. I've been where you are. Not the poverty, but the pride. Refusing help because accepting it felt like admitting defeat. You know what that got me? 2 years of isolation and anger and pushing away everyone who tried to care. Robert stared at the envelope, at the help he desperately needed and didn't want to take. Why? Why help me like this? Because you stayed when everyone else left. Because you see me as a person, not a job. Because Emily deserves stability, and you deserve to not drown while working your ass off trying to provide it. Linda's expression softened. And because maybe helping you helps me too. Reminds me I can still be useful for something beyond being a cautionary tale. Robert picked up the envelope. Inside was $300 in cash. This is more than 200. The extra is for Emily's science project, seeds, supplies, whatever she needs. Linda held up a hand before Robert could protest. She's putting real work into that garden. She deserves proper materials, considerate payment for her labor. Robert's throat was too tight to speak. He managed, "Thank you. Don't make me regret it by getting all emotional." But Linda's voice was gentle. Now let's get through evening therapy before Emily wonders why her father is crying in my living room. They worked through exercises in weighted silence. Robert spotted Linda's standing attempts, counted seconds that stretched toward a minute, watched her face transform from determination to triumph when she hit 55 seconds. 5 more seconds and I'll have doubled my best from last week. You will. Robert adjusted his position. Ready to try? Linda nodded, gripped the bars, pushed up. Her whole body shook with effort, muscles firing in patterns that hadn't worked in 2 years, relearning how to hold weight and balance and not collapse. 50 seconds, 55, 60. She sat back at 63 seconds, and Robert saw tears tracking down her face. I did it. Full minute. I actually stood for a full minute. You did. Linda looked at her legs like they belonged to someone else. Why now? Why is this working now when it didn't before? Because you're finally fighting for it instead of just going through motions. Robert handed her a water bottle. Because you wanted enough to push past comfortable. Because you're not doing this alone anymore. I've never done anything with help before. Always solo. Climbing, business, everything. Asking for help felt like failing. And how'd that work out? Linda laughed, sharp and honest. Got me 2 years of misery and 23 fired assistants. So, not great. Maybe try it this way. See what happens. Maybe I will. Week 6 brought its own crisis. Emily came down with strep throat on a Wednesday, fever of 102, and throat so sore she couldn't swallow. Robert called the clinic, got an appointment, then called Linda to explain he'd need to leave early. Take the day. Paid. She needs you. I can't keep taking paid time off. You're already... She's sick. You're her father. Nothing here is more important. Linda's tone left no room for argument. Text me updates so I know she's okay. The clinic visit cost $90 even with Emily's insurance. Antibiotics were another $30. Robert paid with the advance Linda had given him, watched the buffer between stability and disaster shrink again. Emily perked up slightly on the drive home. Is Miss Linda mad? I made you miss work? No, baby. She told me to stay home with you. She's nice, not like when we first met her. Emily's voice was hoarse. She was scary then. She was hurt. People are scary when they hurt. Like you were after Mommy died? Robert's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Yeah, like that. But you got better, so she can get better too. Emily said it with the absolute certainty of a 7-year-old who hadn't learned yet that some things stayed broken. She is getting better. Because of you. You help people get better. That's your superpower. Robert looked at his daughter in the rearview mirror, at her flushed cheeks and tired eyes, and the stubborn optimism that somehow survived despite everything life had thrown at her. My superpower is you, baby. You make me better. Thursday, Emily was recovered enough for school. Robert arrived at Linda's at his usual time, found her in the garden with Dr. Patricia Johnson, the physical therapist Robert had only met briefly before. Mr. Williams. Dr. Patricia's handshake was firm. Linda's been telling me about her progress. I wanted to see for myself. They moved to the gym. Linda performed her standing routine, hit 70 seconds on her first attempt. Dr. Patricia watched with the clinical assessment of someone who'd seen too many recoveries fail to get excited easily, but even she looked impressed. This is remarkable. Honestly remarkable. What changed? Linda glanced at Robert. I started trying, really trying, instead of just going through motions to make everyone happy. And she's been doing daily sessions instead of 3 times a week, Robert added, sometimes twice a day, morning and evening. Dr. Patricia made notes. Linda, I have to ask, are you pushing too hard? This level of progress can be exciting but also dangerous if you're not listening to your body. I'm listening. I'm just not letting it tell me no anymore. Linda's jaw set with familiar determination. I want to try the walker next week. Dr. Patricia's pen paused. That's aggressive. We usually wait 6 months of successful standing. I know the timeline. I'm asking to accelerate. Linda's voice was firm. I understand the risks, but I need to know if walking is possible, not in theory but in practice. I can't spend 6 more months wondering. Dr. Patricia looked at Robert. You've been spotting her. What do you think? Robert considered. Thought about the progression from 3 seconds to 70, about Linda's form improving daily, about the difference between healthy risk and reckless hope. I think she's ready to try, with proper support and realistic expectations. Realistic meaning I might fail. Linda didn't phrase it as a question. Realistic meaning you'll learn what's possible. Whether that's 5 steps or 50, you'll know. And knowing is better than wondering. Dr. Patricia sighed. Against my better judgment, we'll try next Thursday. I want to be present. And Mr. Williams, you'll spot? Absolutely. After Dr. Patricia left, Linda was quiet. Robert gave her space, went to make lunch, returned to find her still sitting in the gym staring at the parallel bars. What if I can't do it? What if I get on the walker and my legs just don't work? Then you'll know, and we'll adjust the plan. Robert sat on the floor beside her wheelchair. But what if you can? What if you take 5 steps and prove to yourself that walking is possible? 5 steps isn't freedom. 5 steps is 5 more than you've taken in 2 years. That's not nothing. Linda's hands twisted in her lap. I'm scared. Terrified, actually, that I'll try and fail and everyone will see that I was stupid to hope. Or everyone will see that you're brave enough to risk failing. Robert met her eyes. Fear doesn't protect you from disappointment. It just keeps you from possibility. When Claire died, were you scared of moving forward? The question landed like a punch. Robert took a breath before answering. Absolutely. Scared of failing Emily. Scared of making wrong choices. Scared of being alone forever. He paused. Still scared sometimes. But I decided being paralyzed by fear wasn't fair to Emily or to me. So you just pushed through. I got help. Therapy, pastor, support groups. Learned that courage isn't absence of fear. It's deciding fear doesn't get to make your choices. Robert stood, offered his hand. Come on. Emily will be here in an hour, and you promised to show her how to stake tomato plants. Linda took his hand, let him help her from wheelchair to standing position at the bars. She stood there for a moment, weight on her arms, legs trembling beneath her. 90 seconds. Robert kept his voice steady. New record. Linda sat back down, breathing hard. Next week I try walking. Next week you try walking. Friday afternoon, Robert was helping Linda with core exercises when his phone rang. The school. His stomach dropped. Mr. Williams, Emily's been in a fight. Can you come pick her up? Robert arrived to find Emily in the principal's office, knuckles scraped, eyes red from crying. The other child, a boy named Tyler from her class, had a bloody nose. What happened? The principal, a tired woman named Mrs. Rodriguez, gestured to chairs. Tyler made comments about Emily's family situation. She responded physically. What kind of comments? Emily's voice was small. He said I don't have a real family because I don't have a mom, that you're probably not a good dad because you're never at school events, that we're poor and everyone knows it. Robert's vision narrowed. And you hit him. I pushed him. He fell and hit his nose on the desk. Emily looked at her scraped knuckles. I know I'm not supposed to hit, but he wouldn't stop. Mrs. Rodriguez leaned forward. Mr. Williams, I understand Emily was provoked, but physical violence isn't acceptable. She's suspended for the rest of today and Monday. Understood. Robert turned to Emily, apologized to Mrs. Rodriguez for the disruption. I'm sorry. Emily's voice was barely audible. In the car, Robert waited until they were away from the school before speaking. I'm not angry you defended yourself. I'm angry you let him get to you enough to put hands on him. He said you're a bad dad. Emily's voice cracked. You're the best dad. You work so hard and you're always there when I need you and you love me even when I mess up. He doesn't know anything. Robert pulled over, turned to face his daughter. Baby, listen to me. Tyler is wrong about all of it. We are a real family. I am a good father, and being poor does not make us less than anyone. Then why does it feel bad when he says it? Because words hurt. Even lies hurt when they hit close to fears we already have. Robert brushed hair from Emily's face. But you don't prove him wrong by fighting. You prove him wrong by being yourself, by being kind and smart and working hard, by showing him what a real family looks like, even when it doesn't look like his. Emily cried against his shoulder. I'm sorry, Daddy. I know. And you'll apologize to Tyler too, even though he was wrong first, because we're better than that. They drove to Linda's in silence. Robert planned to collect his things and take Emily home, but Linda was waiting in the garden. Heard about the fight. She looked at Emily's scraped knuckles. Want to talk about it? Emily shook her head. Fair enough. Want to help me plant basil instead? I've been waiting for you. They worked in the garden while Robert watched from the terrace. Linda and Emily, talking quietly about seeds and soil and growth. After 20 minutes, Emily was smiling again, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. Linda wheeled over to Robert while Emily watered the new plants. She defended you. Shouldn't have used her fists to do it. No, but the instinct is right. protecting the people you love. Linda glanced at Emily. She's a good kid, smart, loyal, brave enough to fight for what matters. She gets that from you. Gets it from her mother, too. Then her mother would be proud of who she's becoming. Linda's voice was gentle. You're doing good work, Robert. With Emily, with me, with everything. Don't let some kid's ignorance make you doubt that. Robert's throat was tight. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just keep showing up. That's all any of us can do. That weekend, Robert took Emily to Pastor Kenneth Lee's church. The old man had been checking in more frequently, sensing something shifting in Robert's life, even if Robert hadn't named it yet. After service, Kenneth pulled Robert aside. You look different, lighter somehow. Different job, different circumstances. Robert watched Emily playing with other kids in the churchyard. Different everything, maybe. This the rich woman who goes through assistance like tissue paper? She's not what people think, just hurt and scared and hiding it with mean. Robert paused. Reminds me of someone else I knew 4 years ago. Kenneth's knowing look was too perceptive. You developing feelings for this woman? No, maybe, I don't know. Robert ran a hand over his face. I'm helping her learn to walk again. She's helping me afford rent and giving Emily a garden to grow things in. It's complicated. Love usually is. I'm not in love with her. Didn't say you were, but you're thinking about it, maybe for the first time since Claire. Kenneth's hand was heavy on Robert's shoulder. That's not betrayal, that's healing. Claire asked me to love again, made me promise. The words hurt coming out, but it feels wrong, like I'm replacing her. You can't replace someone you lost. You can only make room for someone new. Kenneth squeezed his shoulder. Claire gave you permission. Question is whether you'll give yourself permission. Robert didn't have an answer. Monday, with Emily suspended, Robert brought her to work. Linda had already cleared it. We'll make it educational. Math via gardening, biology via plant growth, physics via... Linda considered. We'll figure something out. They spent the morning in the garden. Emily measuring plant height, calculating growth rates, recording data in a notebook Linda had bought specifically for this purpose. Robert watched them work together, saw how Linda's face softened when Emily asked questions, how Emily treated Linda like any other adult worth respecting instead of someone to pity. Over lunch, Emily asked the question Robert had been dreading. Miss Linda, why can't you walk? Robert started to intervene, but Linda held up a hand. I had an accident. Fell while climbing a mountain. Hurt my spine. Linda's voice was matter-of-fact. Doctors said I might not walk again. So far they've been right, but I'm working on proving them wrong. Are you scared you won't walk again? Terrified, but I'm trying anyway. That's brave. Emily said it with absolute certainty. Daddy says being brave is being scared but doing things anyway. Your daddy is very wise. I know. Emily took a bite of her sandwich. He's the best daddy in the world. Linda met Robert's eyes across the table. Something passed between them, some understanding that went beyond words. That afternoon, while Emily napped on the couch, Linda and Robert sat in the garden. Thursday's coming fast. Linda's fingers drummed on her wheelchair armrest. The walker attempt. You can postpone if you need to. No. I need to do this. Need to know. Linda took a breath. But I need to tell you something first, before I try and potentially fail in front of you. Robert waited. I'm attracted to you. Have been for weeks. I tried to ignore it. Tried to convince myself it was just gratitude or loneliness or some kind of trauma response. Linda's voice shook slightly. But it's not. I look forward to you arriving every morning. I miss you when you leave. I think about you when I shouldn't. And I needed you to know before Thursday. Because if I fail, if I can't walk, I don't want to wonder if things might have been different if I'd been honest. Robert's heart was pounding. Linda, you don't have to say anything. I know this is inappropriate. You work for me. You're grieving your wife. You have Emily to think about. She trailed off. I just needed you to know. Robert thought about Claire, about her request that he love again, about the way his chest tightened when Linda smiled, about Emily asking if Miss Linda could come to her school science fair, about the line between employer and something more, and whether that line mattered when it was already so blurred. "I need to think about this. I understand." Linda's expression was carefully neutral. "I'll see you tomorrow." Robert drove home with his head spinning, picked up Emily, made dinner, went through bedtime routines on autopilot. After Emily was asleep, he sat in the dark thinking about Linda's confession, about his own feelings he'd been carefully not examining, about what it meant to move forward without forgetting what came before. His phone buzzed. "Linda. I'm sorry if I made things awkward. You can quit if you need to. I'll make sure you get severance to cover rent." Robert stared at the message. Thought about Linda offering him a way out, protecting him even while vulnerable. Thought about the last person who'd done that. "I'm not quitting. We have a walker to try on Thursday. Robert, I need you to be honest. Are you staying because you want to, or because you need the money?" He typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on truth. "Both. And because I care about you too. I'm just not sure what that means yet." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Fair enough. See you tomorrow." Tuesday felt different. The air between them was charged with something unspoken, awareness of possibilities neither was ready to name. They worked through therapy with unusual focus, both avoiding the conversation from the day before. Emily noticed. "Are you and Miss Linda fighting?" "No, baby. Just thinking about some grown-up stuff." "What kind of stuff?" "The complicated kind." Emily considered this. "If you like Miss Linda, you should tell her. Madison's mom says honesty is important." "I did tell her." "What did she say?" "That she likes me too." "Then what's the problem?" Emily's 7-year-old logic was painfully simple. "It's more complicated than that." "Why?" Robert didn't have a good answer. Wednesday, Linda was in the gym at 6 a.m. again when Robert arrived. This time she'd dragged the walker out herself, had it positioned at the parallel bars. "I couldn't wait until Thursday. I had to know." Linda's face was flushed with effort and fear. "I've been staring at this thing for an hour trying to work up courage." Robert set down his bag. "Want me to spot?" "Please." They positioned Linda at the bars. Robert brought the walker close, adjusted the height. "Okay, hands on the walker. I've got you." Robert's hands hovered near her waist, ready to catch. "Small weight shift first, just testing." Linda gripped the walker, shifted slightly. Her legs trembled, but held. "Good. Now lift right hand off the bar, full weight on walker." Linda's right hand released. The walker supported her. She stood there, breathing hard. Both hands on the walker now, legs shaking violently beneath her. "I'm standing. Without the bars. I'm actually standing." "You are. Ready to try a step?" "I don't know if—" "You don't have to. This is already progress." Linda's jaw set. "No, I want to try. One step, just to know." Robert adjusted his position. "On 3, small slide forward with right foot. I've got you." Linda slid her right foot forward 6 inches. Her left leg held her weight for the transfer. She brought her left foot up to meet the right. 1 step. Linda stood frozen, walker gripping tight enough to turn her knuckles white, tears streaming down her face. "I walked. I took a step. I actually walked." "You did." "Help me sit, before I fall." Linda's voice shook. "But Robert, I walked. 1 step, but I walked." Robert helped her back to the wheelchair. Linda collapsed into it, sobbing, hands pressed to her face. 2 years. 2 years I've been sitting in this chair thinking I'd never walk again, and I just took a step." Robert knelt beside her. "You did. And tomorrow you'll take 2 steps, and next week 3. Linda grabbed his hand. "Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me, for pushing me when I wanted to quit, for staying when everyone else left." Robert squeezed her hand back. "That's what people who care do. They stay. Linda looked at him, eyes still wet, and Robert saw the question there, the same one he'd been asking himself for days. He leaned forward, kissed her, gentle and careful and full of everything he wasn't ready to name. When they pulled apart, Linda's eyes were wide. "What about Emily? Your job? The complications?" "Still there, still complicated." Robert's thumb brushed her cheek. "But I'm tired of letting fear make my choices, and I care about you too much to keep pretending I don't. I can't promise I'll be easy. I'm still learning how to be a person again instead of just anger in a wheelchair. I can't promise easy either. I'm still figuring out how to be a single father who's not just surviving, but maybe we can figure it out together." Linda pulled him into another kiss, deeper this time, full of hope and fear and the terrifying possibility that broken people could heal each other. Thursday's Walker session with Dr. Patricia went even better. 3 steps instead of 1. Friday brought 5 steps. By the end of week 6, Linda was walking 10 feet with the walker, her legs getting stronger daily, her face transforming from bitter to something that looked like joy. And Robert, watching her walk, holding Emily's hand as they cheered Linda's progress, thought maybe Pastor Kenneth was right. Maybe this wasn't betrayal. Maybe this was what Claire had wanted all along, for him to live again, not just survive, to love again, not as a replacement, but as a new chapter. Emily ran to Linda, hugged her carefully. "Miss Linda, you're doing it. You're walking." Linda hugged her back, tears in her eyes. "I am, thanks to you and your dad." "Can I tell you a secret?" Emily whispered loud enough for Robert to hear. "Always. I think Daddy loves you. He smiles different when he talks about you." Linda looked at Robert over Emily's head. "Does he?" Robert smiled. "Emily sees a lot of things adults try to hide. Daddy says love is choosing to stay when it's hard, and you both stayed." Emily's logic was unassailable. "So you already love each other. You just have to say it." Linda laughed through tears. "Out of the mouths of children." Robert walked over, put his arm around Linda's shoulders, pulled Emily close. 3 people learning to be a family, 1 step at a time. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't simple, but it was real, and it was theirs, and for the first time in 4 years, Robert felt like he was living instead of just surviving. Week 9 started with an email that changed everything. Robert saw it Tuesday morning while Linda was in the shower, her phone face up on the kitchen counter where she'd left it. The preview showed enough. Stephen Taylor, subject line, "I'm in LA, we need to talk." Robert looked away, but the damage was done. Stephen was here. The man who'd walked out when Linda needed him most, who'd called her a burden, who was supposed to be marrying someone else. Linda emerged 20 minutes later, transferred to her wheelchair with the ease that came from weeks of practice. She saw her phone, saw Robert's expression. "You saw." Wasn't trying to. It was just there. Linda picked up the phone, read the full message. Her face went carefully blank, the old armor sliding back into place with practiced efficiency. "He's at the Four Seasons. Wants to meet today. Says Amanda broke off the engagement." Linda set the phone down like it might explode. "Says he made a mistake, that he's ready now." Robert's stomach dropped. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know." Linda's fingers drummed on the wheelchair armrest, the tell she had when she was fighting panic. "Part of me wants to tell him to go to hell. Part of me wants to hear what he has to say." "And the other part?" Linda met his eyes. "The other part wonders if this is my second chance. Stephen knows me. Knew me before the accident. He has money, connections. Could take me to Switzerland for treatment with specialists I can't access here. Could give me everything except..." "Except what?" "Except whatever this is between us." Linda's voice was raw. "Robert, I care about you, about Emily, about the life we're building, but Stephen is offering something you can't. Medical care, financial security, a future that doesn't involve you working yourself to death to keep a roof over your daughter's head." The words hit like bullets. Robert forced himself to stay calm. "So, You're considering it. Going back to him. I'm considering all my options. That's what adults do. Linda's defensive tone was familiar, the same one she'd used in those first weeks when she'd tested him constantly. You and I, we've known each other 2 months. Stephen and I have history, 7 years before the accident. 7 years where he loved you for what you could do, not who you were. Robert's voice came out harder than intended. And the second you couldn't perform anymore, he left. And you're different? You're staying out of love or because I pay 3 times what you were making before? Linda's eyes flashed. Be honest, Robert. If I fired you today, would you still be here tomorrow? The question was designed to hurt. It worked. I don't know. Robert grabbed his jacket. But I guess we'll find out. Do what you need to do, Linda. See Stephen. Hear his offer. Decide if someone who abandoned you when you were broken deserves a second chance. Where are you going? To pick up Emily. It's almost noon. Robert paused at the door. For what it's worth, I stayed because I wanted to. The money mattered at first, but that's not why I'm still here. But you need to figure out what you want without me standing here making it harder. He left before she could respond. Emily noticed his mood immediately. Daddy, what's wrong? Grown-up problems, baby. Is it about Miss Linda? Robert should have known better than to hide things from a 7-year-old who'd learned to read emotional temperature like some kids read books. Yeah. Are you fighting? Sort of. She has to make a big decision and I can't make it for her. Emily was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you love her? Robert's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I think I might. Yeah. Does she love you? I don't know. Maybe. It's complicated. Love isn't supposed to be complicated. It's supposed to be simple. Emily's certainty was absolute. You love someone, you stay. That's what you taught me. Sometimes staying isn't enough if the other person doesn't choose you back. Then they're dumb, and you find someone who does choose you. Emily's logic was brutal in its clarity. Miss Linda is smart, though. She'll choose right. Robert wished he had his daughter's faith. That evening his phone rang. Linda. I met with Stephen. Robert's heart stopped. And? He showed up in a $3,000 suit with pictures of the Swiss clinic on his iPad, showed me patient success rates, doctor credentials, treatment protocols. Linda's voice was flat. Told me he'd made a terrible mistake, that Amanda made him realize what he'd lost, that he's ready to commit now, to be the partner I need. Sounds generous. It sounds like guilt. Linda exhaled slowly. He offered to pay for everything, clinic, travel, accommodations, said we could rebuild what we had before the accident. What did you say? I asked him why now. Why after 2 years of silence? Why after getting engaged to someone else? Linda paused. Want to know what he said? Do I? He said Amanda couldn't handle his grief over losing me, that she realized she was a replacement, not a partner, that ending their engagement freed him to fix his real mistake. Linda laughed, bitter and sharp. He called me his real mistake, the one he should have fought for. Robert waited, stomach churning. Then I asked him something else. Asked if he loved me, or if he loved the idea of fixing his guilt. Asked if he'd stay if the Swiss treatment didn't work, if I never walked better than I do now. Linda's voice cracked. Want to know what he said? What? He said of course he would. But Robert, he hesitated first. Just a second, but I saw it. The calculation, the doubt. Linda was crying now. And I realized something. Stephen loves the climber I was. You love the person I am now, wheelchair and anger and messy recovery included. That's the difference. Relief flooded through Robert so intensely he had to pull over. So you said no. I told him I appreciated the offer, but I'm building something here. With someone who stayed when staying was hard, not someone who's back now that it's convenient. Linda took a shaky breath. He didn't take it well. Accused me of throwing away my best chance at real recovery for someone who's just my employee. What did you say? I told him you're not my employee. You're my partner, in the business I'm starting and in life if you'll have me. Linda's voice steadied. Then I stood up from my wheelchair without the walker and told him I didn't need Switzerland to walk again. I needed someone who believed I could. Robert's throat was too tight to speak. Robert, I know we've only known each other 2 months. I know there's Emily to consider and professional boundaries and 100 reasons this is complicated. But I choose you. I choose this. I choose us building something together instead of me going back to someone who only wants me now that I'm getting better. I choose you too. Robert's voice came out rough. I choose you and Emily, and whatever this becomes. I'm done letting fear decide my life. So where does that leave us? Figuring it out together. Starting with me coming back to work tomorrow and us having a real conversation about what partnership means. Robert checked the rearview mirror, saw Emily pretending not to listen in the back seat. And maybe introducing you properly to Emily as someone important, not just her dad's boss. I'd like that. Linda paused. Robert? Yeah? Thank you for not making me choose between getting better and being loved. Stephen couldn't see that both were possible. You did. That's because I know something Stephen doesn't. What's that? That you're worth loving exactly as you are right now. Everything else is just details. Wednesday. Robert arrived with Emily to find Linda in the garden, standing with the walker, inspecting the tomato plants they'd planted weeks ago. You're standing without anyone spotting. Robert kept his voice casual despite the flutter of pride in his chest. Been practicing. I can do 45 seconds before my legs give out. Linda lowered herself back to the wheelchair with controlled precision. Morning, Emily. Morning, Miss Linda. Emily ran over, careful not to jostle the wheelchair. The tomatoes have flowers. That means fruit soon, right? Exactly right. Another 2 weeks and we'll have actual tomatoes. Linda smiled at Emily, then looked at Robert. Can we talk? Privately? Emily took the hint. I'll go measure the basil for my project. Once Emily was out of earshot, Linda's expression turned serious. I need to tell you something about the business plan. The Adaptive Recreation Center. Okay. I want you as co-founder. 50-50 partners, not employee. But that means you'd need to quit the agency, commit full-time. Linda pulled out a folder. I've been working with lawyers. This is the partnership agreement. Equal equity, equal decision-making, salaries that actually reflect the work. Robert opened the folder, saw numbers that made his vision blur. Salary triple what Linda was paying him now. Health insurance for him and Emily. Equity stake that could be worth millions if the business succeeded. This is too much. It's exactly right. Linda's voice was firm. You've been doing this work for years for poverty wages. You're good at it. Better than good. And I need someone with your skills and your heart to make this work. Someone who understands that adaptation isn't tragedy, it's just different strategies for the same goals. Linda, I can't accept this without what? Without feeling like charity? Linda's eyes flashed. This isn't charity. This is business. I'm buying your expertise and your commitment. If you're not comfortable with the equity split, we can negotiate. But don't refuse because your pride says accepting fair compensation makes you weak. Robert thought about Emily, about the picture day he'd had to skip and the school supplies he'd bought at dollar stores, about the apartment he'd barely afforded and the medical debt that bled him dry monthly, about Claire asking him to build a life worth living, not just survive. I'll need to give the agency 2 weeks' notice. Absolutely. And Robert? Linda reached for his hand. I'm not offering this because we're together. I'm offering it because you're the right person for the job. Those are separate facts that happen to be true at the same time. I know. Robert squeezed her hand. But thank you for saying it anyway. Emily's scream cut through the morning quiet. They found her in the garden, staring at the tomato plants with devastation written across her face. Every single plant had been torn from the soil, roots exposed, stems broken. Someone killed them. Emily's voice shook. All our work. Someone killed them. Linda's expression went cold. This wasn't accident. Look at the clean cuts on the main stems. Someone used shears. Robert examined the damage, saw Linda was right. Deliberate destruction, surgical in its cruelty. Who would do this? Linda's jaw clenched. I have a guess. The security footage confirmed it. Stephen Taylor, arriving at 2 a.m., climbing over the back gate, spending 15 minutes methodically destroying Emily's garden before leaving. His face was clear on camera, expression vengeful. He couldn't hurt me, so he hurt a child's science project. Linda's hands were shaking with fury. I'm calling the police. Wait. Robert's voice was ice. Let me handle this. Robert, no. He's not worth... He destroyed something my daughter built. Something that made her happy. He did it specifically to hurt us through her. Robert's army training kicked in, the part of him that knew how to stay calm while furious. I'm going to have a conversation with him, just a conversation. Linda looked at him, saw something in his expression that made her nod. Don't do anything that'll get you arrested. Emily needs you. I won't. Robert found Stephen at the Four Seasons bar, drinking scotch at 11 a.m. like a cliché of wealthy disappointment. Mr. Taylor. Stephen looked up, recognition and guilt flickering across his face before anger took over. Come to gloat? You won. Congratulations on landing a rich woman. Robert sat down, kept his voice level. I came to talk about the garden you destroyed. I don't know what. Security footage, clear image of your face, timestamp, everything we'd need for police in a civil suit. Robert leaned forward. But I'm not here for that. I'm here to explain something about families. Stephen's expression flickered. That garden was my daughter's science project. 7 years old, working every day to grow something from nothing. Learning about responsibility and patience and how hard work pays off. Robert's voice stayed calm, but his eyes were hard. You destroyed it because Linda chose me over you. You wanted to hurt her by hurting something she cared about. But you didn't hurt Linda. You hurt a child who did nothing to you except exist. I was angry. Linda was mine and you... Linda was never yours. She was her own person who you loved for what she could do, not who she was. Robert's hands were flat on the table, controlled. When she couldn't perform anymore, you left. Called her a burden, made her feel worthless. Now that she's recovering, you want back in. Not because you love her, but because you can't stand that someone else sees value where you saw only damage. Stephen's face flushed. You think you're better than me? You're working-class help who got lucky. I can give her everything you can't. You're right. I can't give her Switzerland or fancy doctors or the life she had before. Robert stood. But I can give her something you never could. I can love her for who she is right now, not who she might become if she tries hard enough. I can stay when things are hard instead of running when they stop being convenient. And I can teach my daughter that love means building people up, not tearing down their gardens when you don't get your way. Robert pulled out his phone, showed the security footage. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to replace every plant you destroyed. Professional quality, delivered today. You're going to write an apology to Emily explaining that you made a terrible mistake and that destroying things never fixes problems. Robert's voice dropped. And then you're going to leave Los Angeles and never contact Linda again. Because if you do, this footage goes to police, to the Bar Association since I know you're a lawyer, and to every business connection Linda has. Your reputation will be destroyed faster than you destroyed those tomatoes. Stephen's face went white. You can't. I absolutely can. Linda was going to file a police report. I talked her out of it on the condition you make this right. Robert leaned close. This is your only chance. Take it or face consequences. Your choice. Stephen stared at him for a long moment, calculation visible behind his eyes. Finally he nodded. Fine. The plants, the letter, then I'm gone. Smart choice. Robert walked out of the Four Seasons feeling lighter than he had in years. He'd protected his daughter without resorting to violence. He'd stood up for Linda without needing her to fight her own battles. He'd drawn a line and enforced it with the kind of controlled strength that came from knowing exactly who he was and what mattered. By evening, a landscaping truck arrived with replacement plants, better quality than the originals. A handwritten letter from Stephen apologized to Emily in words that sounded genuine enough, explaining that he'd made a terrible mistake when angry and that she should never let other people's mistakes stop her from building beautiful things. Emily read the letter twice. "Is Mr. Stephen the man who hurt Miss Linda?" "Yes." "Did you make him apologize?" "I explained that destroying things doesn't fix problems." "He understood." Emily looked at the new plants, already being installed by professional landscapers. "The new plants are bigger. Better soil, too. Sometimes when people try to hurt you, they accidentally make things better by forcing you to rebuild stronger." Robert crouched down to Emily's level. "But you shouldn't have to rebuild at all. That's why we protect each other. Family protects family." "Is Miss Linda family now?" Robert thought about Linda choosing him over Stephen, about partnership agreements and shared futures and love that looked past wheelchairs to see the person underneath. "Yeah, baby, I think she is." Week 10 brought the business license, the lease on a commercial space in Pasadena, and the reality that Robert was building something permanent. He gave his 2 weeks' notice to the agency. The coordinator sounded unsurprised. "Linda Brown asked about making it official, didn't she? Partnership? How did you know?" "She called last week, asked about your contract, whether you were free to take on other work." The coordinator laughed. "First time in 6 years she's kept someone long enough to want to make them permanent. You must be something special. Or she's finally ready to let someone stay." "Maybe both." Linda's physical therapy was progressing faster than anyone expected. By week 11, she could walk 50 feet with the walker before needing rest. Dr. Patricia documented everything with the enthusiasm of someone witnessing medical history. "I'm recommending you for a case study. This level of recovery after 2 years of plateau is unprecedented." "Doctor." Patricia reviewed her notes. "What changed?" Linda looked at Robert standing in the corner spotting her cool-down stretches. "I started trying, really trying, instead of going through motions to make everyone else feel better about my situation." "And you had support?" Dr. Patricia glanced at Robert. "Having someone who believes in your recovery makes measurable difference. Studies show it repeatedly." "Robert made me believe in it myself. That was the difference." After Dr. Patricia left, Linda attempted something new. She stood from the wheelchair without using the parallel bars or walker, just Robert's hands for balance. Stood there for 90 seconds, legs trembling but holding, face bright with triumph. "I'm doing it. No equipment. Just me and you." "Just you." Robert's voice was soft. "I'm barely touching you. This is all your strength." Linda looked down at her legs like they belonged to someone else. 2 months ago I couldn't stand for 5 seconds with full support. Now I'm standing 90 seconds with minimal help. Because you wanted it enough to fight for it, and because you stopped fighting alone." Linda sat back carefully, breathing hard but smiling. "The clinic opening is in 3 weeks. I want to walk for the ribbon cutting. No walker, no wheelchair. Just walk across that stage and cut the ribbon myself. That's aggressive. I know, but I need to prove something. To myself, to everyone who doubted, to Stephen who thought Switzerland was my only hope." Linda's eyes met Robert's. "I need to prove that broken people can heal if they're brave enough to try." Robert knelt beside her wheelchair. "You already proved that. The walking is just visible evidence of work you've been doing all along. Still, I want to walk." Linda's voice carried an edge of desperation. "I need to. Then we'll work toward it, every day, whatever it takes." They trained like athletes preparing for Olympics. Morning sessions focused on strength, evenings on balance and endurance. Linda pushed herself to exhaustion daily, then pushed harder. Robert spotted every attempt, caught every fall, celebrated every additional second she remained upright. Emily helped by creating a progress chart, colorful graphs showing Linda's improvement week by week. She stuck gold stars on days Linda hit new records, drew encouraging pictures when the work got frustrating. "Miss Linda, you're almost to the goal." Emily pointed at the chart showing Linda's target. Walk 20 feet unassisted. Current achievement, 15 feet with minimal support. Almost isn't there yet. Linda's jaw was set with determination that bordered on obsession. Robert saw the signs. The way Linda pushed through pain instead of respecting limits. The way she attempted exercises alone, without spotting, risking injury. The way she talked about the ribbon cutting like salvation instead of just a milestone. "Linda, we need to talk about pacing." "I'm fine." "You're overtraining. I've seen it before. You'll hurt yourself and set back progress." "I have 3 weeks. 3 weeks to prove I can do this." Linda's voice cracked. "I need this, Robert. Need to walk across that stage and show everyone I'm not broken." "You're already not broken. Walking doesn't prove that. You prove it every time you try despite fear, every time you stand despite pain, every time you choose hope over bitterness." Robert took her hands. "The ribbon cutting is just a moment. The work you've done is the achievement. I need the moment. Need it to be real and visible and undeniable." Linda pulled her hands back. "You don't understand. You can walk. You've always been able to walk. You don't know what it's like to have everyone see you as less because your body won't cooperate." The words hung between them, sharp with truth and frustration. "You're right. I don't know that specific pain." Robert kept his voice level. "But I know what it's like to feel less than. To work 3 times as hard for half the recognition because of who I am and where I came from. To have people assume I'm incompetent or dangerous or not worth their time before I open my mouth." Linda's expression shifted. "Robert, I didn't mean—" "I know what you meant. And you're right, it's different. But we both know about fighting to prove worth to people who've already decided we're less." Robert met her eyes. "The difference is I learned that proving it to them doesn't matter. Proving it to yourself does." Linda was quiet for a long moment. "I just want to walk. Is that so much to ask?" "No. But wanting it so desperately you hurt yourself trying defeats the purpose." Robert moved closer. "You'll walk. Maybe at the ribbon cutting, maybe after. But you'll walk. And when you do, it'll be because you did the work, not because you destroyed yourself trying to meet someone else's timeline." "What if I can't? What if 3 weeks isn't enough and I fail in front of everyone?" "Then you'll have walked 15 feet instead of 20. Still further than you've walked in 2 years. Still proof of how far you've come." Robert pulled her into his arms. "You're enough, Linda. Right now, in this wheelchair, you're enough. The walking is just bonus." Linda cried against his shoulder, the desperate tears of someone learning to separate worth from achievement. Week 12 brought unexpected complications. Emily's school called with concerns. Her grades were slipping, she was distracted in class, and the teacher suspected problems at home. Robert met with Mrs. Rodriguez, Emily's principal, prepared for judgment about his parenting. "Mr. Williams, Emily's work has always been exemplary. The change is recent and dramatic." Mrs. Rodriguez pulled out Emily's last 3 assignments, all incomplete. "Is something happening at home we should know about?" "We're going through some changes. Good changes, but still adjustment." Robert chose his words carefully. "Her father is starting a new business. There's a new person in our lives. It's a lot. The person you're working for. The one Emily talks about constantly." Mrs. Rodriguez's expression was neutral. "She mentions Miss Linda frequently. Says you're building a family." Robert's stomach tightened. "Is that a problem?" "Not inherently, but Emily is processing a lot. New family structure, her father's attention divided, the possibility of losing something she's just started to build." Mrs. Rodriguez leaned forward. "She told her counselor she's worried Miss Linda will leave like her mother did." The words hit like a punch. Robert had been so focused on his relationship with Linda, on the business, on preparing for the opening, that he'd missed his daughter's fear. I didn't know she felt that way. Children don't always say it directly, but the signs are there. Incomplete work, distraction, anxiety about changes in routine. Mrs. Rodriguez's voice gentled. You're not a bad father, Mr. Williams. You're dealing with a lot, but Emily needs reassurance that this new family structure is stable. Robert picked Emily up early, took her to the park instead of Linda's house. They sat on swings, and Robert waited for Emily to be ready to talk. Finally, "Am I in trouble?" "No, baby. But your teacher is worried about you, says you're having trouble focusing." Emily kicked at the dirt beneath the swing. "Sometimes I think about Mommy. Wonder if she'd be sad that Miss Linda is with us now." Robert's chest tightened. "Mommy wanted us to be happy. She made me promise to love again if I could. She'd be glad we found Miss Linda." "But what if Miss Linda leaves, like Mommy did?" Emily's voice was small. "What if I love her, and then she goes away?" Robert stopped his swing, crouched in front of his daughter. "Mommy didn't choose to leave. She died because she was sick. Miss Linda is choosing to stay. Those are different things." Robert took Emily's hands. "But I understand being scared. I'm scared too sometimes. Scared of loving someone and losing them again. But being scared doesn't protect us from hurt. It just keeps us from joy. So we love her anyway, even though it's scary?" "We love her anyway, and we trust that she's choosing us the same way we're choosing her." Robert paused. "But if you're not ready, if this is too much too fast, we can slow down. You're my priority, always. Miss Linda knows that." Emily thought about this, swinging slowly. "I like Miss Linda. I like us being family. I'm just scared it won't last. So we make sure it lasts. We work at it. We're honest when things are hard. We don't run when we're scared." Robert pulled Emily into a hug. "That's what family does. We stay. Even when it's hard? Especially then." That evening, Robert talked to Linda about Emily's fears. Linda listened, face grave. "I didn't think about how this affects her. I was so focused on us, on the business, on my own recovery." Linda's voice was thick. "She's 7. She lost her mother. Of course she's scared of losing someone else she loves. She needs to hear from you that you're staying, that this isn't temporary." Robert paused. "Are you? Staying?" "Yes. Absolutely yes." Linda's voice was fierce. "Robert, I choose this. Choose you and Emily and building something permanent. I'm not going anywhere." "Then tell her. Not me. Her." The next day, Linda asked Emily to help in the garden. Just the two of them, while Robert worked inside on business paperwork. Emily went reluctantly, shoulders tense with unspoken worry. Robert watched from the window as Linda and Emily worked in silence for several minutes. Then Linda spoke, and even from a distance Robert could see the seriousness of the conversation. Emily listened, asked questions Robert couldn't hear, and finally threw her arms around Linda in a hug that nearly knocked the wheelchair backward. They came inside an hour later, both tear-stained but smiling. "Miss Linda said she's not leaving, that she loves us and wants to be family forever." Emily's voice was bright with relief. "She said loving people is scary but worth it." Linda met Robert's eyes over Emily's head. "I told her the truth, that I'm terrified of this too, of caring so much, of the possibility of loss. But that running from fear isn't living, it's just existing. And I'm done just existing." Robert pulled them both into his arms, this makeshift family built from broken pieces and stubborn hope. Week 13 arrived faster than any of them were ready for. The ribbon cutting was Thursday. Linda could walk 18 feet with minimal support, close but not quite to her 20-foot goal. Wednesday night, she attempted the full stage walk during final rehearsal. Made it 16 feet before her legs gave out. Sat on the floor of the empty gym, crying with frustration. "I can't do it. Tomorrow, in front of everyone, I'm going to fail." Robert sat beside her. "Or you'll walk 16 feet and show everyone how far you've come. That's not failure." It's not what I promised. Linda's voice broke. I told everyone I'd walk across that stage, cut the ribbon standing, prove that recovery is possible. You've already proven that. Every day, every exercise, every time you chose trying over giving up. Robert took her hand. Linda, listen to me. Walking is not what makes you worthy. Fighting for it is. Whether you walk 20 feet or 2, you've already won. I wanted the moment, the undeniable proof. You'll have it. Maybe not exactly how you pictured, but you'll have it. Robert helped her up, back into the wheelchair. And everyone who matters already knows what you've achieved. The walking is just showing off. Linda laughed through tears. When did you get so wise? When I fell in love with a woman stubborn enough to teach me that broken doesn't mean defeated. Thursday dawned clear and bright, Los Angeles weather cooperating with perfect 70-degree sunshine. The adaptive recreation center gleamed, all accessible equipment and thoughtful design, and the kind of space that said disabled people deserve beauty too, not just function. 200 people packed the opening, including reporters from 3 major papers, bloggers from disability advocacy sites, and potential clients who'd heard about the program through word of mouth. Dr. Patricia was there, documenting Linda's journey for her case study. Pastor Kenneth sat in the front row beside Emily, who wore her best dress and held a bouquet of flowers from their garden. Stephen Taylor's replacement plants had grown beautifully. Linda stood backstage in her wheelchair, breathing through panic. Robert crouched beside her. You don't have to walk. You can cut the ribbon from the chair. Nobody will judge. I'll judge. Linda's hands were shaking. I need to try. Even if I fail, I need to try. Then we try together. Robert stood, offered his hand. Ready? Linda gripped his hand, stood. Her legs held. They walked slowly toward the stage entrance, Linda's right hand on the walker, left hand in Robert's. The announcer's voice boomed. And now, please welcome the founder of Summit Adapted Recreation, Linda Brown. Linda stepped onto the stage. The crowd erupted in applause. She stood there for a moment, letting the support wash over her, then released Robert's hand. I've got this. She walked, slow, careful, legs trembling but holding. 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet. The crowd was silent, watching this woman who'd been told she'd never walk again prove them wrong one step at a time. At 18 feet, Linda's right leg buckled. The crowd gasped. Linda caught herself on the walker, stood again, looked at Robert standing stage left, looked at Emily in the front row, eyes wide with hope, looked at the ribbon hanging just 4 feet away. She took 2 more steps, reached the ribbon, stood there without support, both hands lifting the oversized scissors. 2 years ago, I thought my life ended when I lost the ability to climb. Today, I'm opening a space for others to discover that losing one ability doesn't mean losing all of them. Linda's voice carried across the silent room. Recovery isn't a straight line. It's messy and hard, and sometimes you fall. But if you're brave enough to keep trying, if you find people who believe in you even when you don't believe in yourself, you can climb mountains you never knew existed. She cut the ribbon. The crowd exploded in cheers and applause. Linda stood there, scissors raised in victory, tears streaming down her face. Then her legs gave out completely. Robert was there before she hit the ground, catching her, lowering her carefully to the stage. The crowd fell silent again, concern rippling through. Linda looked up at Robert, laughing through tears. I did it. I walked. I cut the ribbon standing. You did. You absolutely did. Robert helped her into the wheelchair that staff had rushed forward. How do you feel? Like I just climbed Everest. Linda wiped her face, turned to the crowd. Sorry for the dramatic finish. Apparently my legs have a flair for timing. The crowd laughed, the tension breaking. Applause started again, building into a standing ovation that lasted 3 full minutes. Emily ran onto the stage, threw herself at Linda. You did it! You walked and you cut the ribbon and you were so brave. Linda hugged her back, fierce and tight. I had good reasons to try. You and your dad gave me something to fight for besides myself." The rest of the opening was a blur. Tours of the facility, interviews with reporters, conversations with potential clients and investors. But the moment everyone remembered, the image that appeared in every newspaper and blog post, was Linda standing at that ribbon with scissors raised, proof that persistence and love and stubborn refusal to give up could achieve the impossible. That evening, after Emily was asleep on Linda's couch and the last guests had gone home, Robert and Linda sat in the garden they'd rebuilt from destruction. "I almost didn't make it." Linda's voice was quiet. "Those last 2 steps I thought my legs would quit, thought I'd fall in front of everyone. But you didn't. You kept going. Because you were there. Because Emily was watching. Because I'd rather fall trying than succeed at staying safe." Linda turned to Robert. "Thank you for pushing me, for not letting me quit even when quitting felt easier. That's what people who love each other do. They push and catch and believe even when belief feels foolish." Robert took her hand. "I love you, Linda. I should have said it before now. I love you and I choose this, and I'm all in if you are." Linda pulled him into a kiss, deep and certain, and full of promises neither was afraid to make anymore. "I love you too. Love you and Emily and this life we're building." Linda rested her forehead against his. "2 months ago I was alone and angry and convinced I'd never be happy again. Now I have a family and a business and a future worth fighting for. So do I. You gave me something I didn't know I needed, not just a job or financial stability, but a reason to live instead of just survive." Robert's voice was rough with emotion. "You and Emily, you're my whole world." They sat in the garden until the stars came out, making plans for the business expansion, for Emily's upcoming birthday, for a future that stretched out bright and possible before them. 3 months later, the business was thriving beyond projections. 6 months after that, Robert sold his apartment and moved into Linda's house permanently, the 3 of them a family in all the ways that mattered. Emily's science project on plant growth won first place at the district fair. She used it as her college essay 8 years later, writing about gardens destroyed and rebuilt, about broken things growing stronger, about the father who taught her that love means staying even when it's hard. Linda never walked without assistance again. But she walked. Short distances, careful steps, independence measured in feet instead of miles. It was enough. More than enough. And Robert, watching his daughter graduate high school with Linda beside him cheering louder than anyone, thought about Claire's request that he build a life worth living, thought about the job he'd taken out of desperation that became a calling, thought about the impossible woman who'd taught him that broken people could heal each other if they were brave enough to try. Sometimes the greatest miracles weren't medical. Sometimes they were just 2 broken people choosing each other, day after day, building something beautiful from the wreckage of what came before. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything.